There's a lot of Souls games that exist. Some of them are good, some of them are good invertedly. But this one's got boobs. Made by the masterminds behind the behinds of Nikkei, Stellar Blade is a Souls-like action RPG that on the outside might look like it's just an excuse to play as an attractive cyborg woman while she whoops alien ass. At least that's what I thought. Your character might be mucho good lookable, but there's more than just eye candy to the Goon Souls experience. Hopefully by the end of this video I can convince you to give this game a shot. You play as Eve, a bodacious cyborg space baddie designed to use her blade on those who need to be slayed in space. Which means aliens. She's on a mission to wipe out aliens. Turns out despite the uptick in alien residency, there's still one last human city that remains and they need Eve's help to save the last of humanity. As you play through the game, you'll come to realize the situation is a little less black and white and a little grayer instead. Maybe there's more to this extraterrestrial infestation than we thought. I don't want to spread the cheek to the narrative too wide, so I'll leave it at that. I'm trying to get you to play the game here, okay? The combat actually slaps. Like straight up. I didn't think a game marketed as Dark Souls with boobs was going to impress me with its skill array of alien annihilation, but it did. There's a few different aspects to combat, but of course it all begins with the basics. All of your melee damage comes from these preset combos. Every combo has a different usage outside of hurting things. Some combos allow you to dash through enemies, which might help dodge attacks. Other combos can stun enemies, leaving them open to a follow-up, and some combos are just there for that maximum health or harassment. Having options is great and all, but to be honest, I just spam the golden combo. Triangle, square, triangle, square, triangle. It's way too long to get the full thing off, but it has the fastest hit recovery. So I had less of a chance of getting violated between animations, which means my odds of dying drastically go down. Now I'm not well versed in units of measurement, but there are 2 meters in this game. that was some hot ass, dude. Yikes. The beta and burst meters are both used to whip out Eve's arsenal of special moves. Whenever Eve parries, dodges, or even takes one straight to the dome, both meters get charged up. The difference between the two is that your beta skills are like your go-tos. They charge fast and they hit hard, and they also can cancel enemy attacks if you time it right. I don't condone it, but spamming L1 circle kinda breaks the game. It has a knockdown on its last hit and its range, so you could do it wherever you are on the map and just keep knocking these guys down. And if you do it right, you can knock down a boss, run up, hit him to charge up your beta, and then knock him on his ass again. And just keep looping it over and over again, and all they can do is watch as you turn them black and blue. There's another cool little maneuver to overtly hurt the ones that are supposedly hurting the earth. It's called beta chaining, and it's when you hold down the button of the last attack of a combo to empower it with beta energy, so you do a bigger boo-boo to the bad guys. This also has a stun property, so you can follow up if you use it properly. Burst skills are like your ace in the hole, the hidden card tucked up your sleeve. They're cinematically dramatic. It takes way longer to charge them up, I know, but they have iframes so you can pop one of these to aura farm the boss whenever they decide to dump down on your dome with something devious. You also need meter for counterattacks, and depending on whether you dodge or block an attack and what input you use, your counterattacks can temporarily boost your stats like attack speed and damage. It also stuns enemies so you can get a free follow-up. If wielding your stellar blade wasn't enough, you've got a gun. Nah, like for real, she'd be strapped up. There's different ammo types which are good for different situations, like icing the little guys in a horde of the infested or using slug rounds for weak spots. There's also this charge beam, but honestly, it's hot ass. The last thing I gotta mention about the combat are special counters. Sometimes the enemies will toss out a move and it'll flash a signal. Depending on the color, you gotta dodge in a different direction. Yellow just means dodge. That's it. No special direction, just get out the way. For blue, you gotta do a forward dodge that'll stun the target and put you behind them, giving you a free follow-up. When you see purple, dodge backwards and it'll knock the bad guys away and expose a weak spot for you to do a little target practice with Eve's gun. You know, personally, I really like these. I feel like they make the fights feel more engaging. Like, I just can't autopilot my way through. For a brief moment, I get hit with the, oh wait, I gotta do stuff. And then I'm back in the game again. The last compartment of combat I gotta converse about are the retribution attacks. These are point break attacks, but unlike other Souls games, you don't need to break bars or stab backs. Instead, underneath enemy shield bars, there's these yellow diamonds that represent how many times you need to perfect parry their attacks before they get stance broken. Then, you know, you walk up and you press a button and boom, damage. The animations are also really cool and flashy, but it makes things look so much more complicated than they actually are. That's not a complaint, I just found it kind of funny that he was doing all this crazy shit and I'm just here pressing like 2 buttons. Combat feels silky smooth while looking so intense and fast paced. The base skills might be a bit strong, but honestly, it's really up to the player to abuse it or not, so, who cares? Give those scoundrels a good whooping, I say. In the menu, you'll see that Eve has boobs. You'll also notice that she has these other slots that need to be filled. Now that I said it out loud, it sounds way dirtier than I expected, but I'm kind of glad it did. Yeah, we're keeping that. The slots can be filled with different passives that lead into different playstyles. Yeah, this little guy over here, the Exospine, does most of the heavy lifting in directing your build into something. The passives are pretty strong for whatever you're building for, and you can upgrade the spines at the repair station and give a little boost to your benefits. Later on, you unlock another slot for your robo spine, so you can really cook. The gears just have a bunch of other passives that could really help hone in on whatever heat you're hatching in your head, like enhancing your combo damage or charging up your beta quicker. For the most part, putting something together is pretty straightforward, plus you don't need to be too picky about everything in normal mode. Hard mode, on the other hand, that's a different story. You have full flexibility to spec into whatever you want, which can help in certain parts of the game, like sneaking, or shooting, or just flat out damage. The main story levels are linear, where the main goal is to just get to the boss at the end. But if you look around, you'll find some of that sweet hidden loot. I'm talking chests, that may or may not need you to play a little minigame to unlock. Stat upgrades for Eve, or even new fits for dress up. There's also some puzzles sprinkled in for good measure, usually revolving around finding a code to open a chest, but there's some other unique brain ticklers too. Like this one time I had to place the batteries in the right sockets to fill all the bars, or turning the pipes in the right direction so the power can flow through. They only use these puzzles like once. I'm kinda sad because they were cool. A couple levels take place in these underground facilities where brandishing blades is banned, so your only option is to stink up the joint with a loaded barrel. Combine that with the creepy atmosphere, and it feels almost like a Resident Evil level, but with more cake. I like these levels a lot, and I wish there were a few more of them in the game, but unfortunately, that's not the case. It was nice getting a break from blade bashing enemies every now and then. I also love the parts you got trapped in a room with lasers and waves of enemies come flooding in. Like, for a brief moment, it really felt like I was in some danger. I was sitting there with my cheeks max tightable, making sure every shot counted because there's limited ammo and you gotta waste the big guys quick or they'll pile up fast. The rest of the game takes place in these large open areas. There's 2 of them, the wasteland and the desert. These are where a majority of the side quests are going to take place, and there's a hefty pile of them to keep you entertained. Some of the quests can only be unlocked by maxing out your relationship rank with the vendors in the hub area. Don't worry, it's not some visual novel mechanic or anything. All you need to do is just buy stuff from them. Buying stuff also unlocks more cosmetics for Eve, like earrings and glasses and more outfits and stuff. So it's fully worth it if you want to let out your inner fashionista. Besides the quest, the areas do be looking quite barren, empty, some might say, but that's only partly true. So you do finish all your quests, like the good little cyborg woman you are. Then the areas are still filled with puzzles and collectibles to find. The more you explore, the more you're bound to run into something, eventually. And there's fishing, so now I'm legally obligated to say that the game is goated. If there's one thing you want out of a Souls-like, it's the difficulty. If it ain't raising my blood pressure to levels a medical professional would find concerning, it ain't worth playing. So how hard is it? Not as hard as me. Sorry about that. I was trying to appeal to the demographic of young adult males, but I realize now that that might be a bit insensitive towards women since they've never known the experience of getting hard. Honestly, it's kind of a travesty. It might also sound kind of gross. Like why would you want to know if I'm hard? Anyway, it's not that hard. Or normal. Most of the game is a breeze, with only some of the bosses being real sweat inducers. The other ones are less about the pain and more about the experience, if you know what I mean. The setup for the normal enemies could sometimes be a bit of an overload, but whenever things get too dicey, you can just drop down a nade and shake them off. After you've rolled the credits on your first playthrough, you got the option of running again on hard mode and New Game Plus if you wanted. I'm warning you though, if you do a fresh run on hard mode, meaning no New Game Plus, that shit is tragically brutal. At least until you unlock a bunch of your main skills. Until then though, everything is a brick wall that just eats damage. The gap between a fresh hard mode save and a hard mode on New Game Plus is night and day. It's tremendously large. Wide, even. It's like hard mode but on easy, if that makes sense. There's also some new skills to unlock in New Game Plus, so you might as well, give it a shot to see what's there. Now it's the end of the video, the part where I give my conclusions. So to be honest, when I first loaded up the game, I thought if I ever make a video on this, I'm probably going to talk about boobs for like 10 minutes. And I definitely could have done that. But then I got invested and realized, you know what, this game's actually pretty good. Stellar Blade has a lot of things that I look for in games. A decent story with cool combat and some puzzles to solve and loot to jam in my pocket. Oh, and the music. The music do be rather slappable, but gently. Almost like it wants me to know it's there, but it's too socially awkward to walk up and say hi, so it just stands in a corner, uncomfortably staring at me from a distance. That's the sign of a good OST. Either the soundtrack bangs so hard everyone uses it in their funny internet videos, or you barely notice it because it seamlessly fits into the game. My only real complaint is that it ended way too early. It felt a lot shorter than other adventure games, and without the side quests, it's only about like 10 hours maybe. Still a long time, but not long enough. It kind of felt like things got done as soon as they were getting good, but that's just how it be sometimes. So, if you're thinking about trying this out, or you're looking for another Souls-like to sink your teeth into, take it from me, trust me, I wear a suit. This game is golden and you should play it. Hopefully I convinced you to give it a shot. Anyway, I'm gone.